MMA Boxing Talk here. This is a prediction video for Rafael Dos Anjos versus Tony Ferguson. I cannot wait for this fight. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Um, it's going to be an exciting barn burner of a fight. You can't miss it. It's next Saturday, November 5th. It'll be on free TV. You can't miss it. I truly believe this is a title eliminator fight. In my opinion, the winner of this fight deserves the winner of Conor versus Eddie Alvarez. It's just that simple. I'm sorry, Khabib, your resume is shit, and he's been so inactive lately. And let's be honest, Khabib Nurmagomedov did not beat the RDA of today. RDA is a lot better today than he was almost 3 years ago when Khabib beat him, and Khabib hasn't done shit since. I'm done with Khabib. Tony Ferguson RDA. This is going to be a great fight. Now, it's a tough fight to predict because both guys are very well-rounded fighters. Ferguson might be having an orthodox style, and he especially trains unorthodox. Doesn't really spar at all. He does. He works on his jiu-jitsu, of course. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu with Eddie Bravo, which is is a great way to practice jiu-jitsu. It's more centered around MMA. There's no gi. And Ferguson is a black belt. He is phenomenal. He's probably got the best Darce chokes in UFC right now, in all of MMA for that matter. RDA is also a black belt. Very, very seasoned on the mat in jiu-jitsu, I'm talking. And but it's traditional jiu-jitsu, so it's a little bit different. I feel Ferguson uses his jiu-jitsu a lot more in MMA than RDA does. Both guys are dangerous strikers. They both have knockout power. RDA is definitely more powerful. He's got heavy hands. He's a ball of fire in there, and he comes at you. But in this fight, I don't know if RDA having that brute force mentality, walking through his opponents like he was up until Eddie Alvarez, of course, but up until that point, he was walking through guys. And Ferguson's the type of guy, he's gonna stand in your face, take your best shots, keep coming at you, keep cracking you in the face until you turn into a wrestler and you shoot, and then he's gonna snap down city, snatch that neck, and it's all she wrote. So it'll be interesting to see how RDA approaches this fight because maybe he's just gonna want to go out and have a barn burner and may the best man win, or maybe he'll be a little more strategic in this fight. I'm not sure. I know Tony Ferguson, he's going to be his normal self, very hard to predict, but he does press forward. That is one thing you can predict. Tony Ferguson will be pressing forward. Normally RDA does as well. We'll see if he does the same with Tony Ferguson. Maybe Tony Ferguson won't march forward against RDA. I don't know. It's tough to really, it's tough to predict that sort of thing. Like I said, like both guys, very, very well rounded. They match up equally in a lot of things. So you start looking at other things like, height and reach. Ferguson's 3 inches taller and he has 6.5-inch reach advantage. So that could come into play in this fight, because if it ends up being a stand-up fight and they're banging away, the taller guy with the better reach, I feel Tony Ferguson has a better chin than RDA. Even though RDA has a great chin, we saw that against Eddie Alvarez, he just wouldn't go down. I feel Tony Ferguson, though, has a better chin, and his recovery skills are better because, if you take the last fight, Lando Venata, definitely not a contender, but he's a dangerous fighter, and Ferguson wasn't, there was no tape on him. He didn't know. It was last-minute fight, late notice, and Ferguson, it looked like at 2 occasions he got dropped, and his legs went like numb. They looked like they were rubber, and he recovered very, very quickly. And then the end of the round, he's kicking Lando Venato's ass. Where RDA, yes, Eddie Alvarez, maybe we should give him credit. He has a lot of power. He really went for it once he got RDA buzzed. But RDA could never recover at that point. And maybe that's because of the pressure of Eddie Alvarez. But I do feel that Tony Ferguson does have the better chin. RDA's been knocked out cold before. It was a long time ago, but he's been knocked out cold. Ferguson hasn't been. RDA, I believe, has been submitted twice. Ferguson once. It'll be interesting. On the mat, I think it's very close. Very close. I would have to give. I would say that it would be even. I think for either guy to get a submission win, their opponent would have to be hurt in this fight. To get that submission. It's not going to come easy. But if the opponent, he gets hurt, wobbled, and RDA or Ferguson, takes advantage of that, I could see a submission. But this is a crazy fight. I mean, a lot of variables, a lot of different things can happen in this fight. But I am definitely going with Tony Ferguson to win this fight. I think he's going to get a third round Darce choke submission. And it's going to be a hell of a fight up until that point, back and forth, but I really see Tony Ferguson being victorious in this fight, and there's no guarantees, but I'm going with Tony Ferguson in this one to win it. I think he's going to get a third round Darce choke submission, or any submission, but I think it's going to be a Darce choke, and yeah, that's how I'm picking the fight. Let me know what you guys think, who you guys are picking. It's definitely a tough one to predict, and proof of that, this is a great channel, MMA History Today. MMA History Today, it's on Twitter and on Instagram, and they put out a poll. They have tons of followers, and they put out a poll a while ago for, who do you think would win, Rafael Dos Anjos or Tony Ferguson? And almost 3,000 people voted. It was 2,951. So 49 people shy of 3,000 votes, and this is unbelievable. Out of the 3,000 that voted, it was a dead even tie. 50% had RDA winning, 50% had Tony Ferguson winning. I mean, that is spectacular in itself. And a little bit surprising that so many people are picking Ferguson as well. Ferguson, great fighter, and he's on a roll. But RDA has the bigger names on his resume. He was the champion very recently, so that kind of surprised me. But it just goes to show how close of a fight this is. 3,000 people voted, and it's split down the middle. And I put out my own poll, which obviously didn't get 3,000 votes. It was around 200 people that voted, and I think it was like 51% for RDA, 49% for Tony Ferguson. So I mean, this is a great fight. If you have RDA, it's very reasonable. This guy is a killer. Look at the rampage he was on, before the Alvarez hit him, got to him, I should say. And Tony Ferguson, nobody knows what this guy's going to do. Very unorthodox. I don't know. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a barn burner. I cannot wait. This is like the perfect fight, to get the fans back into it. We've had 3 weeks off. So this is a good card. I mean, it's not a stacked card, but the main event's phenomenal. Lamas versus Oliveira, that's a good fight. And I'm interested to see what happens with Diego Sanchez and can't remember the guy's name he's fighting. Held, I think it is. Anyway, great fight, great card, but I cannot wait for this main event. Let me know what you guys think. But I got Tony Ferguson, third round submission, probably a Darce choke. But that's it for this one. If you liked the video, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at MMA Boxing Talk 1. Peace.